Welcome to Something More to Podcast, where we move through topics wherever the conversation takes us. I'm your host, Richard Collins.
And I'm Adam Culbertson.
Something that's been kind of in the news a lot lately is starting to get a lot of cases of, I guess, unknown lung diseases from vaping. And I guess in a way, this is something that could have been predicted to some extent. It does kind of seem like, hey, here's this thing that, kind of came out of nowhere, like blew up really, really fast. If there was ever really any serious research done, then it was not really published or publicized very much.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of feels like if you don't really know what this is doing to you, and people got really, really into it. People are still really, really into it.
Yeah, we know people that are really into it,
mm-hmm.
that try to get everybody else into it.
And it's just, I mean, I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be bad for everybody out there.
Oh, no.
But
no.
Any given thing out there is going to be bad for somebody. And when there's no real testing or, regulation over it, you're just opening the door up for all kinds of things to go wrong. Especially considering that there's so many companies out there just basically making their own juice.
Yeah.
Which that being said, I don't know if there's really even a problem with the actual act of vaping itself necessarily. Like, I do know that there have been some things kind of pointing towards perhaps the types of oil that are being used. But to some extent, especially when you look at the vaping that has nicotine in it still, I mean, to some extent, it's kind of a duh.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying nicotine itself is like the worst thing in the world, but it's also not great for you.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that you're getting more nicotine from vaping than you're getting from cigarettes. If you used it to quit smoking, you're probably getting more nicotine because there's no regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to go outside and smoke in the smoking section or anything like that. I mean, there are places now that ban it.
A lot of places now require you to vape outside.
Yeah, but I still, even places where it's banned, I still see people fucking doing it, especially when in a crowded place and stuff like that. People are still doing it,
and that's not to mention, like, when you're sitting at home, like, you don't really have any reason why you would have to go outside.
Yeah, so you're just unregulated,
just sitting there puffing on it and puffing on it and puffing on it.
Yep, just
I mean, it's basically no different than just chain smoking.
Yeah, it's just excess. Like,
mm-hmm.
It's just excess.
And granted, like, it doesn't have the carcinogens in it that, like, cigarettes would necessarily have.
Yeah,
but
at least not the same ones.
But I mean, when it really comes down to it, especially when you're talking about companies that are unregulated, that don't have any kind of real government oversight, that are putting together these things, and I mean, it's maybe not like super high level chemistry, but there's definitely some amount of chemistry that needs to go into making, like, certain flavors and everything.
I mean, there's a lot of do it yourself stuff there,
right?
I mean, I've heard stories from people that I know that vape or used to know that vaped, and they were buying their juice in bulk from fucking some dude that was making it in his shed. Jeez. Like, now, I know that not all the oils, and most of the stuff that is regulated, the stuff that's made by established companies and everything, that's not the bad stuff that's going on here. They're not using the oils that have lipids in it. It's the oils that have lipids in it that's causing holes to form in people's lungs. And a lot of it has to do with the homemade and just off-brand kind of stuff that's being made with THC oil has been the big thing. But this also applies to the nicotine or just flavored vape without any nicotine or THC that's being made using oils with lipids in it. That the doctors have narrowed it down to it's like this lung disease that's caused by lipids attaching to the lungs.
Mm-hmm. And so I think when it really comes down to it, the big problem is regulation.
Yeah.
I mean, when you don't have any kind of oversight, you don't have any kind of regulation, there's a lot of problems that can come about. I mean, you look at like moonshining, for example. Like, there's a reason why like moonshine can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially if you're getting it from somebody who hasn't been doing it for like, decades and decades and actually knows what the hell they're doing.
You can get poisoned and die.
You can get poisoned and die. Like, I mean, like, there are all kinds of things that can go wrong, like if you drink bad moonshine.
Yeah. And like one of the big things is, this is being pushed by the cigarette companies, big tobacco and everything, so they can crush the little guys, because all the regulations that are going to be put in place that they're talking about is it's going to be too expensive that only big tobacco is going to be able to afford it, and there's going to be places that are shutting down all over the country now. That may be true. That totally may be true. And it's been done before.
I'm not saying that they're behind it or anything, but undoubtedly,
they're back.
They will be using it.
They're supporting it.
Absolutely, because it only benefits them.
Yeah, I mean they own like Juul and all that. That's all owned by big tobacco,
right? Like
they own the market inside of convenience stores, which is the biggest seller for the just the disposable vape pens and stuff. Because
most people who get into it don't get so far into it that they're like, building their own rigs and like changing out parts constantly,
making your own coils and everything. Yeah. We've heard it all.
But it's like most people don't get into it to that degree.
Yeah.
So most people are just picking it up from the gas station, the same as they would cigarettes.
Yeah, and those aren't the ones that are causing these deaths all over the country. From the gas station, those aren't the ones that are causing. It's the homemade juices, which okay, so they're making it where it'll be illegal, or they're trying to make it where it'll be illegal, and then like just crush like all these small time places and stuff like that. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's going to end up like drugs.
Yeah.
You're going to have a bigger problem because people are going to be making it illegally more, and that's going to be easier to get, especially for younger kids.
It really just comes down to availability. Yeah. Like if it is,
because they're trying to get rid of all the flavors. That's one of the big things that they're trying to get rid of, because saying that appeals to the younger audience is the flavors. So all the flavors are going to be illegal, unregulated, and that's what people are going to get, young, old, whatever. Which all these deaths have been in between 19 years old and mid 30s, or at least last time I looked, it was 19 years old, mid 30s, and when I last saw that, they were saying, this is hurting our kids. Like, no, all the deaths are adults. Like, this is happening to adults.
By the time they're 19, they're an adult.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, though, it really is just, it's availability. If you have, like, something that's of similar quality, similar price, like everything else, like, if it is available legally, people will get it legally rather than get it illegally.
Yeah.
Like, it would take a considerable amount of difficulty in obtaining. Like it would have to be like really far out of their way to obtain it legally for them to actually go get it illegally instead, provided that everything else is similar, quality, price, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing with a bunch of different stuff. Like, it's like the whole thing with weed, like THC, all that kind of stuff. People will not get it illegally if it can be obtained at a similar quality and similar price legally.
Yep. Hell, in state, I almost say countries, in states like Colorado, underage smoking of marijuana has gone down because they're just waiting till they turn legal age to smoke because it's legal now.
Not to mention, it doesn't really behoove anybody to be like an illegal pot dealer there.
Yeah.
Like, why would anybody still be an illegal pot dealer? They all go legit.
Yeah, and they make their money in broad daylight rather than dealing on the side and everything.
Right. Exactly.
That's their full-time job now.
Exactly. And it brings a sense of regulation to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have like all of these like just independent pot growers that are, growing it, sending it out, and who knows what it gets laced with before it like actually reaches the consumer. Like, I mean, so all in all, like bringing things in like this, like bringing things for government regulation is actually a really good thing, and we need to continue doing that.
Oh yeah, it totally is.
We need to not just be like, oh well, we should just ban things outright.
Yeah,
because that is going to get people to double down on it. That's going to get people to like say, well, screw this, I'm doing it anyway.
Yep. And I'm sure people will change. I like a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And the myth that a drug dealer is going to lace it with stuff so it's going to kill you and it's going to be laced with acid and you're going to be tripping. No, like they don't want to.
No,
they don't want to hurt their customers because that's how they make their money.
Absolutely
so I'm
not.
sure they're going to get away from the oils with lipids in it. I mean, not saying that all of it will be gone now that all this news is coming out about that. Hey, this is the problem, which is still being avoided, and it's. The way our government officials are targeting it is completely wrong. Yes, we need regulation. We need procedures and everything for how it's made and everything. But to target all flavors and say, oh, only nicotine flavor is allowed.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. And again, it only serves to benefit big tobacco companies.
Yes, it
does. Because when you're limited to only tobacco flavors, what can people even compete with them on?
Yeah. What you got? You got fucking nasty tobacco flavor and then nasty tobacco menthol flavor. That's it. That's all you got. I mean, I used to be a smoker. I tried vaping. I don't do either now, but I tried vaping whenever the only flavors were nicotine, menthol, and vanilla. That was it. That's all you could find, and those were still the rechargeable little, kind of like the disposable, the Juuls and everything now. But like I've been anti, like, not anti-vaping,
anti-vapors.
Yeah. I mean, I joke with one of our friends. I mean, I call it a douche flute, and I call it a robot cock and stuff like that. but I mean, I do it just to pick on them, and just have a good laugh. I mean, that's what friends do.
Yeah.
But like my house is a no vape zone. I don't care what oil it is. I don't care what it was made from, anything like that. I don't want to breathe it in because being around people that vape, especially when they make their own rigs and stuff, they get these big, huge clouds and everything.
Because that's what it becomes about.
Yes.
Like it becomes about making the biggest cloud you can make.
Yeah. At least the people we've been around that get way too into it. Like I breathe it in and I can feel the moisture and everything, and I'm just breathing in we all breathe in what was inside of each other's lungs all the time and everything, but I don't want to feel it.
Right.
I don't want to feel that moisture that came out of your lungs and out of your mouth. Like it makes my skin crawl, and I can't stand it.
It is pretty disgusting.
When you think about it that way, and they're blowing these huge clouds. That's like that one video that got posted on the D&D Reddit, and I'm sure it's made it to Facebook, D&D, and Twitter and everything, where the dude was like, oh, well, we didn't have a fog machine to create an effect for the Dragon's Lair, so our dude like blew a big cloud onto the D&D board, like through the dungeon and everything. You saw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That instantly I just cringed at it, because I'm like, oh, I couldn't play like that. Like, I couldn't play breathing that in.
But yeah, I mean, it's people can do whatever they want, but
yeah, I don't care what you do.
At a certain point, like, you still have to be respectful of other people. And like, that was something that came up at like one of my previous jobs, because for a while there, people were just sitting there at their desks, just vaping away.
Yeah.
Just filling up the whole place with vape.
Going back to the 80s and before, or shit, early 90s and before, people smoking at their desk at their desk job.
Yeah. But it's like it got to a point where like it was actually bothering people.
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, like, if you're going to vape, you got to go outside like the smokers. Because, like, I mean, it's actually affecting other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just you. You're not the only one.
It's totally distracting. If you're trying to work, I could totally see how it'd be distracting, because just sitting at a restaurant and smelling it, like when it was really prominent, just sitting at a restaurant, just like, I just wanted to leave. Like, I didn't want to eat there anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just me though. I have a really bad mental picture of just like it coming out of somebody's mouth and lungs, and then I feel it. I don't want to get on that again, but yeah, it grosses me out.
I kind of feel like anybody that hears that probably won't be able to get that out of their head the next time either.
Probably. That's how I see it.
I know I won't be able to stop thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it needs to be regulated. Like, it needs to be standardized to a point that it's not hurting people anymore. But it definitely does need to be treated similarly to how smoking is treated, because everybody shouldn't be forced to just deal with it because people like doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But shit, like back when I used to smoke, you remember when Camels had the different flavored cigarettes?
Mm-hmm.
They had like Frost and mellow.
You mean before like that legislation went through to limit like flavors that cigarettes could be to try and keep them from targeting kids?
Yeah. Like, I mean, at the time I was in my early, like I think I was late teens, maybe early 20s, and I still had friends that were like just getting out of high school and everything like that, and I don't remember any of them like being like, oh man, how about them Camel Frost and stuff. Like I don't know how much kids were actually going out and getting Camel Frost and Camel Mellows and stuff like that with different flavors. And it's not like the flavors were so overpowering, like that it was enticing. Like I don't know. I just don't see it whenever smoking numbers for underage kids like have been going down over time. I don't think that really had much effect on it.
No, I think when it comes down to it, like always, the government just kind of has this tendency to just assume like whatever seems like the easiest answer.
Yeah.
Like, so, oh, well, it's these flavors. The kids are all into the flavors, so let's just get rid of the flavors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, well, there's a cartoon camel on the advertisement, so So that's obviously attracting the kids. So let's just get rid of that.
Yeah. Camel has actually come up with a lot of great ideas for marketing and everything like that. And like so I remember seeing Camel ads with Joe, was it Joe Cool or
Joe Cool.
Yeah. I remember seeing ads for that. Hell, I remember
Camel rather.
Joe Camel.
Joe Cool was the alter ego of Snoopy.
That's right. Joe Camel. And even Spuds McKenzie for Budweiser. Mm-hmm. I was a kid, like when those were things. I saw them in magazines. I saw them on TV and everything like that. Not once was I like, oh, I gotta have a cigarette now because that Camel's smoking a cigarette, or I had to be like, well, I gotta have a beer now because that dog's having a lot of fun partying.
You know, I feel like at a certain point, it's kind of the backfiring of like the brainwashing of like people into just being like, I guess basically like cattle consumers.
Yeah.
Like just basically being consumers for companies to prey off of.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, like by dumbing down the population, you end up with a bunch of people that are just like, oh, well, that looks cool. I got to do that.
Yeah. I guess I'm just not one of those people. Because all the Spuds McKenzie stuff had, because hell, I was a kid. I liked bull terriers as a kid because I like Spuds McKenzie. Like that was it made bull terriers like really mainstream here in America. I had a poster on my wall with Spuds McKenzie on it. Like that. I was a little kid. Like that was the 3rd, 4th grade, whatever. I had a poster of Spuds McKenzie because I liked bull terriers because of Spuds McKenzie, and all it led me to do was get a bull terrier when I became an adult.
But it's like, I mean, like growing up, there was always beer in our fridge when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Like never once was I like, oh man, I'm going to go grab one of those.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was very clearly laid out for me. Like, you know, like I guess what it really comes down to is it's about like a certain level of respect.
Yeah.
And granted, I didn't have really shitty parents.
Yeah.
A lot of people have really shitty parents.
Yeah.
But like my parents were good. Like I had respect for my parents.
Oh yeah, and me too. I mean, I disagree with a lot of stuff my parents say and believe and everything, but I mean, they taught me to respect, and they taught me to like just be a good person. So I mean, I have a lot of respect for them for that.
And so I guess when it comes down to it, like when my parents were just like, you know, hey, this isn't something for kids. Like, this isn't something that you should have until you're older. Mm-hmm. I respected that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, I think maybe when it comes down to it, it gets into more like the actual root of the problem has less to do with flashy advertisements or flavors or anything like that, and more to do with the fact that people are really shitty at raising kids.
Yeah.
Like, if you're raising your kids right, you should be able to tell them, like, look, this is not something that you should be doing before, you know, you're grown up, and they should be able to respect that.
Yeah.
And not like in a whole, well, you do it because I say so kind of way, because that's not getting anybody to listen to you.
that just makes it worse, and that makes them want to do it.
Exactly. I'm not going to try and say that I can tell you how to be a parent, but I can tell you what doesn't work.
Yeah. I choose not to be a parent. And that's the thing with a lot of our generation, the millennial generation. We're not wanting to have kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all honesty, with the way the world is these days, it almost feels irresponsible.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have enough income for the cost of living to really be responsible to have kids. A lot of us. I mean, not saying everybody, but I would probably say the majority.
But I mean, putting yourself dangerously close to poverty just so you can have kids is very irresponsible.
Yeah.
Like, trying to rely on government handouts by having kids is irresponsible.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have like the money for it, even just bringing a kid into the world today feels almost irresponsible.
Yeah.
I mean, it
doesn't help that the cost of it all.
No, the cost
like
of it
the medical cost is all jacked up 3,000% higher than it should be. Then the actual cost that it costed for it is upwards of 3,000% markups on things. It's too expensive. Millennials are buying houses so they can have a backyard for their dog, because having a dog is more feasible for our income and cost of living.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and I don't even know if this is even the number anymore because it's been so long since I'd read it. But I mean, a long time ago, I'd read something like a kid, when it comes down to total cost from the time they're born and all of the expenses surrounding like their birth, all the way up to the point where they're independent and gone and you don't have to worry about them anymore. Like the average kid costs something like $1 million.
Yeah. And shit, yeah, I remember seeing that. I don't remember how long ago that was.
And granted, that was spread out over like 18 years.
Yeah.
Like, and a fair bit of that gets subsidized here and there. But I mean, it still holds like some amount of truth to it.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that number would have gone up since then.
And I feel confident to make the assumption that it's probably more expensive now than whenever that study came out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, when you look at it, like that is an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, like basically over that 18-year period, like that right there is basically like your I mean, really even more than minimum wage, even if you look at the $1 million figure.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to put yourself in debt to raise a kid.
And that's just to raise the kid, let alone like support yourself in that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand, like, my parents, they had to make sacrifices. I feel like if I was to have a kid, I'd have to make more sacrifices.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only way you wouldn't have to make some kind of sacrifice or major lifestyle change to be able to accommodate having a kid is if you're already making probably 6 figures plus.
Yeah.
And that's here. Like, there are parts of the country that making 6 figures plus just means you're getting by.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel like there's a lot of problems that need to be addressed. And I feel like there's very little being done to address them because we're too busy trying to look for easy solutions.
Yeah. And putting the blame in the wrong place, targeting it the wrong way, trying to regulate it the wrong way. And I don't know. It's just, it's not just one topic. Like it's so many topics too. Like vaping is just a symptom of the whole problem.
It's just one of them, because you look at like, gun control. Oh, well, somebody shot up a school. Obviously, it's video games.
Yeah.
Or obviously, it's violent TV.
Way off topic. But we're coming at the end of our time. So I just want to throw this out there because they did a study. I didn't look into it a whole lot or anything. I didn't look to see like how many people were or how many incidents were tested and everything. But like with the whole video games and gun violence and stuff like that, it's kind of racially charged on what's to blame. Predominantly when it's a white kid or a white person that commits a violent act or mass shooting or stuff like that, more times than not, it's blamed on video games.
Yeah.
When it's a person of color, it's blamed on their upbringing or gangs or something like that, and not video games.
Yeah.
So like, what the fuck? Like pick a lane. Just pick a fucking lane.
Well, no, obviously only white kids have video games and play violent video games.
It's fucking stupid.
No, it's really stupid. Although that actually brings up something else that I saw. Apparently, Homeland Security has finally actually created a classification for white supremacist.
And you know why, right?
Oh, yeah, because like that's the most predominant form of terrorism that we have.
Oh, I know that, but you know why they're finally doing something about it?
Oh, what?
Because at the El Paso shooting,
yeah,
6 of the people that were killed
Mm-hmm.
were relatives of Department of Homeland Security employees.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So they're finally doing something about it now because they're affected by it. And this isn't the first time that's happened with our country too.
Wow.
Without going into that and getting deep into that, like we'll probably touch on that another time.
Whatever reason, I'm glad that it happened because it has been direly needed. Because to basically just say, oh, well, obviously it can't be white supremacy because we don't even look at that is not a good excuse.
And I may be wrong on them deaths, but it was 6 victims of the shooting were relatives of Department of Homeland Security employees.
Wow.
In one shooting. Like what are the odds of that even happening?
I think that might be the epitome of silver lining there.
Yeah.
Like that is a really dark cloud, but at least it has that silver lining.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it made one of our employees sad, so we're finally going to do something about it. No, that's a fucked up way to think.
That's a really fucked up way to think. But yeah. Well, kind of a down note, but I think we're still going to have to end it there. But thank you for joining us, and hope you enjoyed, and hope you join us next week when we'll have something more to podcast.